So, welcome back. I think this will be the last video, the third video of lecture one, where we will discuss the second standard on the IFRS framework, the S2, climate-related disclosures. We learned that in S1, we had five things to disclose. In S2, we have three things to disclose. We have physical risk, basically things that already exist, things that are internal, risks that are maybe challenges as well that are internal in the organization related to climate. Second, transition risk. I see this more as external risks, for example, with policy changes, with legal aspects, market changes. You can see the examples in here. They look very external. And finally, the third thing that you need to disclose, opportunities. Like these two are a bit negative, internal risk, external risk, and then the third one, opportunities. So, like when you disclose these things, these three things, you have to keep the same structure. For each of these three things, you have to talk about governance, strategy, risk management, and metrics and targets. I will show you an example for S2. So you have physical risks, the internal things that can happen inside, like maybe you have this potential risk that can happen in your company. So how do you ensure that this is maybe reduced, that this is maybe kind of control, like these things can impact you? How can you ensure that this is through the four dimensions? You need to convince the reader that you know that they exist and that you are kind of controlling them. Externally, what things can make things difficult for the company, and then the same thing, disclose them in the four different dimensions, and finally, aspects related to the climate, but that are positive. So you disclose them here. So it's very simple for S1. We have five things that we need to disclose in four different dimensions. The same four different dimensions apply to the three things that we need to disclose with S2. And finally, maybe are thinking like, do I need to talk about governance and the social aspects because they don't have standard? S1, the standard one says that you should also talk about it, but you have freedom to disclose whatever you think it's good. For S2, we have three very clear things that you need to disclose. For S3, well, we don't have S3, the social one, which will come soon, and the governance part, you have freedom. You can disclose wherever you think is relevant. So this is a good example of how you can do it. Well, here you have the, the basically S1, base of preparation, the value chain, boundaries, materiality, and governance. So you have the five things you need to disclose. And then you have the environmental one, so S2. But check here, they actually decided to talk about two things in the social one. This diversity and fair wages are not something that you are forced to disclose because we don't have that standard, so you can do whatever you want. And governance as well, we don't have the governance standard, so they decided to disclose on this one. And when you take a look at what they did, they talk about diversity with the four pillars. So always keep in mind in IFRS, you need to disclose governance, strategy, risk management, metrics, and targets. So basically, for your assignments in the course, you will need to prepare kind of a plan. It can be, you can think it as a blueprint on what things you need to include when reporting on IFRS S. For different companies, different organizations, different contexts, some things will be relevant, other things will not be that relevant. You need to disclose that. You need to be coherent with your suggestions. So I think one possibility is that maybe you do something like this, like a matrix like this, where you report on the things that you have to talk, and then with the four different dimensions, just make sure that your propositions, because this is like the plan, what do we need to do to report, what has to be disclosed, is consistent with the context of that company that we will disclose. In the case study, we will have a lot of information, in the exam the same. And and then that make sure that everything is coherent. Like in here, for example, you talk about board level oversight, make sure that you have that board element in other suggestions in when you propose aspects to report according to IFRS S. So that's it. That's the first lecture where we learned about the first framework, the IFRS framework for sustainability reporting. Thank you for listening.